Happy Saturday, a warm welcome to tonight's broadcast with me, Gloria Mutesi. Starting us off tonight, Rwanda's First Lady, Her Excellency Jeannette Kagame, has pointed out that in order to give people proper healthcare services, they must first be valued as human beings and supported in their welfare. Health experts have agreed with this as efforts continue to improve health sectors on the continent and beyond. Sejnare begins our coverage tonight.
People generally commend the sort of health services provided at the local level in Rwanda, though they also say some improvements need to be made.
I
do not encounter any problems when I go to see the doctor because I am able to access enough services. I was even assisted to go into family planning method, which has helped me have children I'm able to properly take care of.
The locations we access our medical services under the community health insurance scheme Mutuelle de Santé do not have enough employees, with just one person supposed to care for 50 patients. People could die waiting to be cared for in such conditions, never seeing a doctor.
For vaccinations, the time allocated is respected and the children are immunized, which helps them to stay healthy.
Indeed, much has been done over the last 27 years to improve healthcare in Rwanda. There are now 8 modern hospitals, provincial hospitals to assist those at the district level because every district now has its own hospital, and patients are referred up to them from health centers, which number more than 500, and some sectors have 2 health centers. We also have health posts in cells, so people don't have to go far to access health services, and 58,485 health workers are on duty. All of this has helped to significantly improve the health sector, providing people with vital health services and producing results. There is currently 1 doctor for every 8,000 people in Rwanda, 1 nurse for every 1,233, and 1 midwife for every 2,402. The goal is that by 2024 there is 1 doctor for every 7,000 local residents and 1 nurse for every 800. Health experts note that Africa needs to do a lot to improve her health sector. Many places on the continent have big hospitals, but nothing at the local level. As for things like tuberculosis and measles, when the entire population is not vaccinated, it is never good. Africa certainly has enough qualified medical personnel. The problem is that they all go to work elsewhere, not Africa, especially specialists. To Dr. Rwama Sirawo, addressing such issues is not as complicated as some make it out to be. When all of those things are lacking, the health sector becomes weak and people start dying of things they should not. Things like malaria and TB, because there is no organization. What can be done therefore? First, there must be the political will, and health services must be spread to all parts of the country, with things like pandemics dealt with accordingly. Without health, there can be no economic prosperity because people are unable to work. There can be no security because people become desperate. To help boost the health sector on the continent, the University of Global Health Equity has established an African Advisory Board co-chaired by Her Excellency Jeannette Kagame, the First Lady of Rwanda, and she has noted that in order to give people proper healthcare services, they must first be valued as human beings and supported in their welfare, and that proper policies must be adopted and implemented in a timely fashion when it comes to the health sector. The board is to be supported by health experts from around the world.
The Rwanda Development Board says that 3 years after the launch of the Visit Rwanda campaign aimed at promoting Rwanda as a world-class tourism destination, the return on investment has doubled the cost and that is expected to continue to grow due to various reasons, including the recent transfer of the legendary Argentinian footballer Lionel Messi to the French football giants and Visit Rwanda partners Paris Saint-Germain or the PSG. The PSG on Wednesday, August the 11th, unveiled Lionel Messi from FC Barcelona on a 2-year deal with an option for an extension until 2024. Messi's move sparked a huge influx of new social media followers for PSG's social media engagements, whereby the club's number of Instagram followers increased by over 4 million, from 38.7 million to the current 42.8 million in less than 24 hours. On December 4th, 2019, the Rwanda Development Board, through Visit Rwanda campaign, announced a 3-year partnership with PSG to give Visit Rwanda tourism campaign exposure on the back of PSG training kit and pre-game warm-up kit of the men's team, and also on the sleeve of the kit worn by the women's team during their matches. The PSG deal followed the May 2018 deal between Rwanda and the English football club Arsenal to promote Visit Rwanda slogan, effectively making Visit Rwanda Arsenal's official tourism partner. The Visit Rwanda logo has since featured on the left sleeve of all Arsenal teams' kits. But how does the signing of a quality world-class player like Lionel Messi benefit Rwanda? Ethan Tashovia speaks to Ariela Kajeruka, the acting chief tourism officer at the Rwanda Development Board.
In the global scene, on the global scene, as a world-class destination for tourism and investment, and therefore, when such a new partner or new signing comes on board through our partnerships, it means greater visibility for our campaign. It means that we can reach greater audiences and also varied demographics.
If you could tell us the numbers, how much in terms of numbers has Rwanda benefited in the Visit Rwanda partnership with Paris Saint-Germain, Arsenal, but also the sports partnerships that you have with other clubs?
So I can maybe put together the sports partnerships generally and give you some key insights. Since we've been in a partnership with Arsenal for the last 3 years, and since the beginning of the partnerships, we've gotten huge media value, and this has been increasing over the years. We started off with 36 million value of that can be valued in pounds. It increased, and now on the last year, on the last season, we got about 77 million of media value, and also, when you look at our other partnerships, we recently got signing we signed on a new partner, the NBA, where we hosted the inaugural season of BAL in Kigali in May, and with that we managed to get an economic impact that is valued at over $5 million. And this is in addition to impressions and viewership across the globe, where we got about 1 billion people seeing Rwanda hosting such an iconic event. In addition to that, you've seen we've been releasing different content series where we feature various players that showcases Rwanda as a tourism destination, but also as a country that has a very, interesting export commodities. So, for instance, the latest was the partnership or the series that we released of Paris Saint-Germain, where we had 5 senses. This really showcased our export commodities, tea, coffee, honey, and so on. So, and in addition to that, we also been aggressively campaigning for Visit Rwanda, even within the pandemic period. One of the interesting content series that we saw was how the campaign we got on Amasunzu. I don't know if you saw it. It was showcasing our culture, values and elements, and also our fashion. That was, to date, one of the content series that gained a lot of traction. And also, lately, the Rwanda Awaits campaign, which really shows that Rwanda is open for tourism. So important news, like you mentioned, do have a direct impact as well on our messaging, because, for instance, since Messi got signed onto partnership to play for the PSG, we had an increase of followers. So that's the kind of leverage that we are able to see as we continue to aggressively campaign for Visit Rwanda.
Let's look at the partnerships as well. Again, PSG seems to be yielding more results with the partnerships that you have with other sports organizations. How does this come about, and how much of an impact has it had to the tourism?
We signed PSG in December 2019, and later, 2-3 months later, we were hit by COVID. So in terms of numbers, obviously, I think even the tourism industry at large is impacted, where we got a loss of revenues and visitors, over 76% of our revenues. So were lost. So that means that we cannot really be able to say today that we've had an impact that we can immediately associate to PSG. But we continue to remain in the interesting destinations across the globe, and we continue to receive tourists from all over. And Europe still ranks high in our tourism arrivals as a key source market. That shows us that the efforts that we continue to make, even within the pandemic, are bringing results on board.
Do you have specific numbers on who ranks where in terms of continents to the previous?
So our highest source of tourist arrivals is the US, followed by the UK, and then Europe generally. When we had high numbers, Europe had increased by 11%, and UK had increased by 17%. So this shows that to in the face of the world as a tourism destination of choice and a world-class destination, we are able to come back to these numbers when the situation comes back to normal. Obviously now we have COVID-induced travel restrictions, and we're not able to capitalize at this stage, but see it as an investment that we're making for the future. When recovery becomes real and possible, we will be able to recoup our investment properly.
Are you happy with the return on investment?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you look at a country like Rwanda, being in the faces of millions of people across the world that are following because of one passion, which is sports, and across different disciplines and different demographics and audiences, it's an amazing thing. And you can see for yourself, you wouldn't be here if this wasn't news.
Ariela Kajiruka, the Acting Chief Tourism Officer, many thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate.
Well, to other matters now. While last year Assumption Day was celebrated amid tighter restrictions from the COVID-19 pandemic, this year will look a little bit different. Nyaruguru District Administration has announced that with strict COVID-19 preventive measures, a limited number of local and international pilgrims will be allowed at the Kibeho Holy Land to celebrate the Assumption Day. Ahead of Assumption Day, celebrated on the 15th, Rwandans and pilgrims across the world are making their way to Kibeho to be part of the day's celebration, and some have already set camp there. A cross-section of residents has gladly welcomed the opportunity to celebrate and vow to adhere to all the set guidelines.
This is a very important day in my life because it's also my birthday. At the same time, I celebrate my feast day. The fact that we didn't celebrate last year, it was such a loss to us as Christians, but now that we're able to come here is such a joy today. We will be able to pray, but in strict adherence to the guidelines by wearing our face masks and practicing social distance. As you can see the setup, we thank God for our leaders who think of our safety while enabling us to celebrate this day.
Bikaba byanatanze umusaruro yo ku uyu munsi tubasha kuba turi hano badufunguriye tukaza hano.
We are so glad that this year we will be able to celebrate Assumption Day after missing it last year. We are aware that the pandemic is still around, and so we will celebrate in observance of the guidelines. As you can also see, people are wearing face masks and they're sanitizing and practicing social distance.
Well, still in the spirit of Assumption Day, Father Haderimana Francois, the rector of the Sanctuary of Our Lady of Kibeho, joins us via telephone to discuss with us about the atmosphere. Good evening, Father Francois. We seem to have lost Father Francois, but we will try and get back to him a little later. Moving on, Rwanda's Ministry of Health has urged the citizens to keep complying with measures in place to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Youth volunteers have also noted that even though people are changing their mindset regarding the fighting of the spread of the virus, more efforts need to be made in making the public more aware. Let's now hear from Ghislaine Mugwaneza.
Different people across Kigali City do not respect measures in place to fight the spread of COVID-19. They all mention that they are aware of the pandemic severity, though they do not practice measures to fight COVID-19.
The measures to fight COVID-19 is to help and remind others to wear face masks properly. You have just phoned me buying a new one because the mask I had wasn't fitting me well.
However, youth volunteers say they still face challenges, but also mention that people's mindset had changed. It was hard in first days, but people are slowly understanding due to the days we're passing through. Those who used to neglect the measures are now aware of the need to continue fighting the spread of COVID.
Challenges are still being found, especially in washing hands and wearing face masks. There are those that cannot wash their hands unless you are watching over them, which means that it is really a problem.
The Minister of Health, Dr. Daniel Ngamishe, has said that the non-compliance leads to the rise in COVID-19 infections, which makes it hard even in treating the cases.
This means that the problem still exists. We should keep on practicing measures in place. People should know that COVID-19 is still here. It is just that the more we respect measures in place, the more the numbers keep on reducing. Then we are able to fight it without having many patients in hospitals that we are not able to take care of, as well as having many deaths. We do not want to reach that stage. That is why people should not neglect measures just because more activities have got reopened.
Figures from the Ministry of Health indicate that in the last 7 days, new cases positivity rate decreased from 5.4% to 4.4%, and 938 have died due to COVID-19 related complications across Rwanda. Ghislaine Mugwaneza, RTV News.
Many thanks, Ghislaine. Now, as we had earlier mentioned to you that preparations are underway in Nyaruguru district ahead of Assumption Day. Father Haderimana Francois joins us to discuss with us more about that. Good evening, Father Francois. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes. Good evening to everybody.
Joining us. Could you perhaps start by telling us what the atmosphere is right now at the Holy Land of Kibeho, and how prepared are you to receive people tomorrow?
The atmosphere is good, even though we are fearing this pandemic of COVID-19. But let me first remind that tomorrow we are celebrating the Assumption of Mary. That is the bodily taking up of Mary, the mother of Jesus, into heaven at the end of her earthly life. And this feast is solemnly celebrated in Kibeho since 15th August 1982, by the time of apparitions of the Virgin Mary here in Kibeho.
Yeah,
but now we cannot celebrate outside, only inside, welcoming only 30% of the capacity of the church. That is almost 200 people inside. But very happy to celebrate this solemnity.
Absolutely. And how does it feel? Could you perhaps tell us how it feels to be able to welcome people and congregants to the Holy Land of Kibeho rather, after a year of COVID-19, and in particular, how significant is this at such a time?
Yeah, I didn't maybe get very well the question about the fight against the COVID-19 here in Kibeho.
Just to clarify a little bit further, Francis, I was asking, how does it feel as the rector of the sanctuary? How does it feel to be able to welcome congregants back to congregate again and celebrate this very important day in the Catholic Church, especially as the country and the entire world grapples with the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, after days and days of expectation, waiting for the moment the church will be reopened, today, really, we started to rejoice in this celebration of the Assumption of the Virgin Mary. As you know, last times before this pandemic, we used to welcome many people here, more than even 50,000. But today, we are using the social networks in such a way Kibeho will join people at home, and the message will be spread from Kibeho through the social networks, through television and radio, as you are helping us to make known the message of the Virgin Mary that is destined for to the whole humanity.
How many people do you expect to receive?
That this pandemic will finish.
Well, Father Francis, let's leave it at that for today. We thank you for your time, and we're wishing you very wonderful and safe celebrations tomorrow.
Thank you very much. And we'll be praying for every Rwandese, for our country, for the whole world. Thank you very much.
Thank you and good evening. Well, that was Father Francois Harerimana, the rector of the Sanctuary of Our Lady of Kibeho, speaking to us about the preparations ahead of Assumption Day tomorrow.